So as you all are very aware, TF2 has been facing a horrible bot crisis for the past 2 years or so. Now Valve has done little to nothing to fix it, except for muting free-to-plays and doing a few little things behind the scenes. But what if I told you there might be actually nothing they can do to actually fix it? What if the bot problem is just something we can't fix? Now I've said it in past videos and I'll say it again, the bot problem is extremely hard for Valve to solve, and the people who make the bots are very bad people, and they deliberately go out of their way to make things bad for the game and to find ways that they can abuse the game's mechanics to make it worse for everyone to play. And for the people who are working on TF2, let's say maybe a team of 6 people if we're lucky, it's very difficult for them to keep up with the tens of people out there who are probably sitting there at their computers all day, spending the time in their parents' basements trying to figure out ways to ruin Team Fortress 2. Now, this video is not going to be all negative, but I do want to make this clear. I don't think it's possible for Valve to completely fix the bots. Now, here's why. Now, before I can actually go into why, I sort of need to explain how the bots work and how they're running in Team Fortress 2. So the bots are run on Linux computers using a software called Cathook. Basically, this program is a cheat which allows you to run multiple instances of Team Fortress 2 at the same time. The reason they do this on Linux is because Valve's anti-cheat actually doesn't work on Linux computers and is pretty much useless. So these bots can roam freely, hacking as much as they like without getting banned. Now, there's a couple ways that Valve can actually combat this. The first way is hardware ID banning, but the problem with this is that they can use these things called hardware ID spoofers, and these things pretty much pretend that they're using a different hardware, so when they do get banned, they don't actually get banned. So that's already off the list. Now the next thing you're probably thinking of is, what if we just IP ban them? Now the problem with IP bans is the fact that people can just change their IP every 5 minutes or so. It's not very effective and it doesn't really work. Now the most obvious answer that you guys are probably thinking of is just adding Valve anti-cheat to Linux computers, and that seems like an awesome idea when you think about it. But then you gotta think that there's a thing called Valve anti-cheat bypass, and basically what this does is it completely just bypasses the anti-cheat in the first place. Because this anti-cheat isn't placed very deep in the computer, they're able just to get around it. And when we say that, it sort of makes TF2's anti-cheat seem pretty stupid. It kind of is. It's very outdated and it should be updated as soon as possible. But as I'm saying, the problem is it's hard to update without making a kernel anti-cheat. And a kernel anti-cheat is pretty much an anti-cheat which is run very deeply on the computer. And making one of these anti-cheats is very expensive, and it also risks people getting their privacy leaked, and no one wants that. And it's pretty much proven that we won't be getting a kernel anti-cheat for Team Fortress 2 due to it not even being in CSGO, Valve's complete flagship game. And if Valve could put any kernel anti-cheat anywhere, it would definitely be CSGO, not Team Fortress 2. Now, we know that we had this interview with Valve a while back, a few days ago, where he said that there would be good solutions for Team Fortress 2. Sure, maybe they have solutions, maybe they have things like band-aids that they can put on, and there's definitely ways that they can get around the bots and make it so players don't have to play with the bots. But what I'm saying is they can't just remove the bots completely, but a way that they could get around the bots and make it so we have a better experience to play would be by making some sort of prime matchmaking system with trust factors and making it so you have to get to a certain level to be able to play properly. But the problem with this is that new players will just get placed against bots, and TF2's growth will just stagnate because new players won't be able to get into the game without just versing cheaters and bots. That's a big problem that will be very difficult for Valve to counter. So that's one of the reasons why I think this will be very difficult to implement into the game, because that's just really difficult. Now, what if I was Valve right now, what I'd be doing is I'd be looking at the community service. I'd be looking at them and thinking, what are they doing? How do they manage to get rid of these bots and cheaters? And basically just look at it from that and start studying it. Now, Valve, they are smart, alright? They may be looking like they're super dumb, but they are a big company, big brains. Their employees probably have a pretty big salary, so there's probably ways they can think to aid the bots, and this year we're probably likely to see that happen. When we get this new update coming, there'll be a lot of bug fixes and a lot of things which will just help the game be more playable in general, but unfortunately we won't be able to just remove the bots. So in my opinion, Valve's best course of action right now is to figure out how they can stop people running multiple versions of Team Fortress 2 on the same computer, because right now, botters when they run TF2, they have like 10 versions of TF2 running on the same computer, in some cases hundreds. So if Valve could just figure out a way to, see what other versions of Team Fortress 2 they're running, see what other ways they're running it, and how many copies of Team Fortress 2 they've installed on the device, and work it out from there. But the problem with this is links back to earlier when I said it was a kernel anti-cheat. You guys face it had a kernel anti-cheat, and you guys know how the reception from TF2 community was about that. People were spreading rumors that it was like leaking their data, mining bitcoins, all these things that they've made up in their heads. The same thing would happen to Valve. There'd be lots of rumors, it'd be on the news, and it would be problems for them. They've already had enough bad press this last couple of years. They probably don't want too much more. But then again, I think most people would just be grateful that the problem's fixed and just be happy about that. But there's always going to be that sour bunch out there who will just be complaining, keyboard warriors, you know, those neckbeards out there. But let's not get too much on a tangent. So because I have almost little to no knowledge on coding and how anti-cheats work and how it works behind the scenes of Team Fortress 2, I actually got in contact with one of my people who actually had a past of white hat hacking of things related to Team Fortress 2, CSGO, and other Valve games, and they pretty much confirmed that everything I said was pretty much true. When Valve finds something that stops it, people will find a way to bypass it. It's really difficult for them to do it, and the only way that they could seriously fix a botting situation is just by making it so regular players don't verse bots, and by doing that affects another large majority of the Team Fortress 2 players, which again stagnates growth. Now, one thing I think TF2 could probably do is work out a better way of not muting all free-to-plays, because that kind of sucks, and I feel really bad for my friends out there who just can't chat in game. They can't even call for medic. They could at least find a better way to fix it, like making a timer on voice lines. Like, I think it'd be a lot better that free-to-plays could use voice lines but couldn't chat. I think that would be better than just making them not be able to do anything. But you know, Valve, they probably won't do anything about it. Plus, they've probably made even more money from people buying items in TF2 just so they can chat. So when you think that Valve is possibly profiting from the bot crisis, it's kind of disturbing. But then again, as Gaben said, there's probably gonna be some things coming to Team Fortress 2 this year. It's super exciting. I mean, some people don't get too hyped. I'm pretty hyped because this is the most we've gotten from Valve in a long time. So that's pretty much all I got to say.